Welcome back to the GLAC Studios oil painting tutorial. We are working on a large canvas painting called Ardhanareeshwarar. Ardhanareeshwarar, meaning is half man, half woman. In a way, it is a complete universe, a balance of masculine and feminine energy. We have been working on this canvas for a while now, going through layers one, the wash, layer two was blocking and filling. Layer 3 was giving you a slight bit of dimension. And then we are now working on layer 4. That's what we have been doing so far, isn't it? So that was the quick summary of what we have been doing so far. Where if we have to summarize what we exactly did in the last class was really into a bit of corrections, isn't it? So we did some corrections. At least in my case, I had done some grave errors that I could see, and I had tried to correct that. And we also worked on the clothing of Shakti. So we worked on that top to bottom, and that's how she is looking, isn't it? So that's what we did in the last class. We will continue with the layer 4. We are still on the clothing area. We are not done with the clothing because there is some, the blouse of Shakti that we haven't worked on. And then there is also this tiger fur uh, sort of thing that Shiva is wearing. So we are going to do that today, and then let's see how far we are able to reach with that. And if we manage that, we will start working a little bit on the accessories also. We will start spreading across, the canvas. Yeah, the focus has been intensely on Shiva and Shakti's body. We will try to complete that and move into some other areas as well with this layer. So we are in class 18, isn't it? So um, yes, this is definitely a large canvas painting, but at the same time, we need to understand that this has a lot of components in it. And the more we go into details, we will work section by section. And I'm deliberately doing this to you in this fashion also to keep in view that you are also spending as much time on each and every section, giving it that effect and the time it deserves. So when you are done with the whole picture, you'll be able to see the efforts of your hard work. So I'm already congratulating you for all your efforts so far, and I wish that you are continuing with this journey until the end of it and seeing the end result of it. Yes. So let's get on to the work today. So, like I said, the focus is going to be on the clothing. The It looks like a vermilion base, so that's what we are going to do, and then we will move into yellow ochre, which will help us, work with the animal fur that he is wearing here, and then use whatever is remaining of it for adjustments in other places also. So I'm going to move this camera to the front, and let's see. The materials are going to be the same, no big change or difference in terms of the materials. Now you should be able to guess the colors that I will use. In so many ways, we will, at least until the third or fourth layer, I try not to introduce new colors or something. Um, Although we tried a little bit of bottle green, but that's something cinnabar green deep, I think. But that's something I had in mind always, and I was keeping on telling you about that. So this is going to be vermilion. Yes. So let's take the vermilion and to darken. Yeah, burnt umber black will help to lighten. I will use a little bit of titanium white because when you lighten, it also tends to turn totally pinky. So just be aware of that while you are mixing the colors. So I'm starting with my titanium white, and remember, it's not a bigger space. There is only these two sections, the hands. Um, so there's not much to work with this color. Maybe we can use that for the clothing over there in the other side. That is also a red cloth. Mm. So we could possibly use the vermilion there. So other than that, I don't see any other need as such. Um, we could stick to that color for this. I'm thinking of crimson base for the lotus. I also, had this flash of mind. Okay, should I use the vermilion here again? But I think it has to be crimson. It has to start changing its color tonality now. So let's avoid using that here. Um, okay, I have taken a little bit of titanium white. Going to take vermilion. I need load of paints in my load meaning drops of fresh paints in my palette because most of it is used or dried off. Yeah, so I'm going for everything one more time, not too much, but you know fairly a bit of burnt umber, vermilion. I usually take ivory black a tad bit, but it does matter that I have it around, so I would also prefer to have it uh, ready. Hmm. So I think I am ready. I'm not showing the palette because there's no, any type of blending or technique that I'm going to use at this stage. Whatever it is, and you also would have noticed by now that I'm not someone that is so much into blending things in the palette. I like it, but I am in that manner a little spontaneous that I would prefer the colors to go directly on the canvas and I see, okay, where do I need some dark and light and then play around directly on the canvas. I that's some kind of my um, a favorite way of doing things, but doesn't mean that you should also avoid using the palette for mixing. So feel comfortable in your own space and do whatever you want to do to mix colors and keep them ready. I'm going to use brown brush number two to just go over that area um, with vermilion. Fill it in first and then start blending directly. Yes. And like I said, I will use this vermilion also on the clothing here. It is supposed to be like, not the cloth, end of the cloth is tied as a knot on the, trident. Yeah. And then the rest of the cloth is falling down. The meaning of it, I don't remember directly right away, but maybe, I will try to find out and talk about this when we are working on layer five, possibly. Let's see. There's a lot about each and every what do you call, each and every aspect of this picture talks a lot about um, what Shiva really means, and what he stands for. So there are so many intricate meanings to things. So it might sound like, oh, there are too many things around here. Um, you might feel like, ah, is it cluttered, and so on. But I think, all these things I have come to learn that everything has its own meaning. We did talk about it, when we talked about the animals a little bit, that you can never imagine having a lion, for example, next to a cow like that. You'd always say the cow is going to get killed. And when we have to make the whole family painting, meaning Shiva and Shakti here, and also their sons, um, Ganesh and um, Kartigeyan or Murugan. So each of the gods and goddesses have an animal represented that you would have noticed by now. Um, and Ganesh is this elephant god, elephant face god. He already is half man, half animal in a way. And his favorite, we call it a vahan or a vehicle. So these animals call for, take the place of a vehicle for the gods and goddesses in a way. So um, Ganesh's vehicle is a little mouse, such a huge animal, elephant, as a small little mouse, tiny mouse. And peacock is the vehicle of Murugan or Kartikeyan, the second son of Shiva and Shakti. So if you just imagine all these animals in one picture, wow, it's going to be huge. And it's impossible to imagine because, yeah, the snake could eat the mouse, and the peacock could hit the snake. So there is all these animals can, in a practical sense, we think that cannot coexist, but it is possible. That's what, that is one of the zillion hidden messages that I would like to bring up here. So I think I have filled in enough of vermilion here to go over using my zero brush. So I haven't, in terms of the brushes, no big change. Again, let's go over the brushes, the layering here. I'm using the burnt umber mixed a tad bit with ivory black, not too much, a slight bit. And I'm going to go over this shoulder line. Oh, I like a shoulder line. That's one shoulder line. The other, there are two shoulder lines. Just be aware of that and bring that in, bring that home, and all the dark zones. I think we pretty much, we are repeating what we have done in the previous layer. Um, So we blend in this color. We have done this before, so it's easier for us to understand now where the light is. The light is here, the shadow is on the shoulder. Um, yeah, and also the armpit, the areas, and so on. So once we have done that, what can we do? Maybe take a little bit of the white, blend that in to show light, but just be careful. We don't want to. Yeah, we don't want it to turn totally pinky. So just be careful with that move. I am slightly adding that white, not too much. So it's got really tiny bit of that and blending that in here. Mm. So I'm taking only tiny bit of it, not too much, and trying to blend it in. So I'm being very careful. I don't want it to turn totally pinky. Mm. Okay, in the area where the light could possibly fall. Yeah, I'm looking at another area, the arm, a part of it, not too much. So I'm just blending in this darker color as well. And so there isn't much of a difference if you say. I'm just ever so lightly touching up on the color and blending it in. Yeah. So I want to do the same thing, adding a little bit of darkness in the clothing here, blending that in. It's like a piece of cloth that is, you know, hung as such. So I've done that, and I'm going to take a bit of white to lighten it up in the middle where the light could possibly catch. Yeah, I guess that is fair enough to cover. And I am now going to move on to the yellow ochre part. Yes, I have a little bit of yellow ochre with me, but maybe I will need a little more. I'm going to look at some clothing options. There's no, not many options here. The pictures, the references, if we go back to that, I'm looking at the tiger skin, which one is really done nicely. I think the one that is in the seated position, to me, it appeals a little bit more. I guess I will go for something like that. So I'm going to, first of all, we start working on the lightest portion of this clothing. And what is that? There is a part of the fur that has really white here. So we are going to work on that first. I'm just moving this camera so that the focus is exactly on this place. So I want to use another clean brush. Let's see, brush number 3 or 4. Yeah, it's brush number 3 round. Yeah, I'll have another one. Yeah. So brush number 3 round. And remember, this white isn't titanium white. So even though it looks whitey even in the reference pictures, it's not total white. So I would add a very tiny bit of yellow ochre to the titanium white before I start doing this layer. So I want it to look slightly on the what do you call? It looks like off-white, maybe. Yeah. So I'm doing that. I will come back to doing this also if needed. And I wantedly create this, strokes here, so it doesn't look like it's a perfect shape. It is fur, isn't it? So I wanted to have that effect. So I'm just doing that here, making sure the green isn't coming over. So I've done that, and now I think I'm ready to work on the yellow ochre. I have a bit of yellow ochre here. I just take a look at this yellow ochre. It looks, I think I need a little more. Yeah, I'm going to take yellow ochre. And to this, I might add a little bit of, so I want a couple of variations. I want this raw yellow ochre. There is a lighter version. We can always add a bit of titanium white to have a lighter version to this. A lighter version here. here a little more. Yes, this is good. And to a darker version, I will take a little bit of burnt umber and throw it inside. So this gets to be a slightly darker version here. And we always have ivory black to go for to work on, some of the areas. I'm just going over the darker version first. I'm going to switch the camera again to the canvas. Yes. So I'm using the darker version of the yellow ochre that we created to first do a sharp, you know, image very close to the zone where we just did the um, off-white fur. So I'm doing that. Once I've done with that, I'm going to go back, catch up on the lighter tonality that we mixed. I'm going to go on and fill this, but look at the way I'm filling it. I don't want it to be looking so perfectly painted. I'm just going on dabbing the color. So it's sort of creating the image of fur. So I'm not doing anything, like painting fluidly or something, or making the curve or something. So I'm just going on, dabbing the color there. And when I come close to the end of the body line, I'm also making sure that the fur lines are coming out a little bit and it's not a perfect curve or something like that. Yeah. Versus what we did on the opposite side with Shakti's costume. Yeah. So that's what I'm doing. I'm taking a little more and dabbing. Okay, I think I am done dabbing into the areas that I wanted to. I'm going to go ahead with that burnt umber mixed yellow ochre that is slightly darker. So I'm going to create some strokes that will have slightly, what do you call, darker impression in between. Sporadically using that darker zone, we can go with another tonality, which is ivory black. We can do that. But I'm just going with this for the first time now, and then we will do that. So there is no, we did blend a little bit of the color tonalities on the palette, but most of it we are actually playing around with here directly on the canvas. You can already begin to see that there is some, kind of difference that is appearing in the clothing here on the camera. So now that I add, don't go directly and add ivory black. I want to take a bit of it in the same brush. I'm not doing anything else. That's what I have taken. You see, I'm blending it with the darker yellow ochre that we already mixed. So it's still on the yellow ochre. I'm not using it to dab it directly on. Um, at least not at this moment. I'm just going to decide on how. Let's see. I like this. Yeah, it looked like a slight bit of triangle that they created. Yeah, not everywhere, but in some places, sporadically again. Using the tip of the brush only. If you're not comfortable playing around with the same brush with all this shading and so on, the best way will be to take a zero brush. For me, if I'm comfortable with it, I just go ahead, use the same brush and add a little bit of that, the blacky. So I'm trying not to add total black here. It could dominate, and we don't want that. At least not now yet. Not yet. And also remember, where are you dabbing too much black on? Um, this is being the front portion. The light will be on here, so You would want to do a little more of dabbing on the side, maybe. So, so be careful with it where you want to use it. And make sure the fur goes in either way, so it's showing like there is some, fur falling into the white also, the off-white layer as well. Yeah. And we will do still more furs when we are done with the body of the animal here, mm, the bull here. So we will also go over one more time. I guess this looks fair enough for us right now. Hmm. So we manage the clothing aspect of layer 4. That's a lot that we have managed in layer 4. We are now down to working on the jewelry and accessories. But before we get to that, I noticed one correction that I need to do. And this is something, to be honest, I did not see it in any of the pictures, the references that we had. But apparently, the snake is coiling around Shiva's neck 3.5 times. 3.5 times. So there must be 3 rings. And this is something I understood from, I listen to and read to a lot of scriptures and so on, whatever I try to get my hands on. That's where I understood from, and it is apparent that none of the 3 references that we have cover that aspect. So we are going to do that correction. I'm going to stick to the same brush and the same darker color, the yellow ochre mixed with the ivory black or burnt umber, looks good for me. And the benefit here is that when we did this ring, this was, let's say that this is the first ring, and let's say this is the second. And let's say that because we have got her jewelry like this, can we say that this is the third ring? Filling it like this, and be careful here. And we could imagine that the fourth is falling in like this. Hmm? So I am going to move the camera slightly bit there to focus on, and I'm taking the lighter yellow ochre so you could see what I am doing here. So this is the first ring, this is the second ring, third ring, and then the last one is half one, so it's ending like this here. So I've got it covered like this, 1, 2, and 3, and let's not forget the snake himself here. So I wanted to fix that. So I'm using the same color, the yellow ochre, to do this. And I'm going to, so we will have done layer 4 for the snake once we are done with this. And I will talk a little bit about the snake also. But before that, I'll have to tell you something. Remember when we did the ornaments or the Rudraksha Mala here, I said that we could also load colors and, make them sit on top of the canvas's body. That I have done, and here it looks really odd because I am trying to adjust and make the snake. This is where I haven't mentioned this tool, but this is rare case to a scenario, you could use. I'm going to remove that dried out excess color sitting here. Can you see that I am removing color like this? Removing them out. Can you see that this is how it is coming out? So I had some excess put on the body of the canvas. That's how I do jewelry sometimes, and most of the time. And I have that jewelry now disturbing the space where we are trying to work on the snake. Huh? So I have removed it, but be careful with this when you remove. So you don't. This is a, what do you call? It's a painting knife. If you do not have it, you can use any sharp item, but just be aware. If it is totally sharp, you are going to hurt the body of your canvas, tear it possibly. So just be careful with that. Other than that, you can use anything to that you feel comfortable with to work on that. So I am doing that now. It is smooth enough for me to complete this process of doing the snake structure properly. And I want those 3 layers to show. I will do that ever so lightly now with a zero brush. So I have been learning a little more about snakes. Um, because there is another painting that I'm also working on. I'm not allowed to discuss in detail about that painting because it's a painting. It's a private art commission and it is supposed to be off camera. So I do get requests that are off camera that I'm working on. So you might not know what I'm doing on that plane. Um, so because of that, we had to do a lot of research. So we understood that this animal is a highly respectable animal. All animals are, um, but it has its own way of, intelligence in terms of knowledge. So it's a symbol of wisdom, and it represents this humongous wisdom that we possibly might not be ready to understand. So, that kind of intricate detail is what is represented by a serpent, and I think we talked about it in one of our sessions that is also why that it doesn't surprise us to see that medical organizations use the symbol of snake in their logo. You might have noticed that it is system. And to be honest, when I was researching into all these things, I was trying to get some picture references. Remember, we were talking about this picture reference being not so clear, and I was trying to get some picture references, which I did. But I also noticed that most of the references that I was Google searching were all showing this animal as having this teeth wide open, mouth wide open teeth, and tongue coming out, and so on. So in a way, it looks like it is scary, definitely, and more than that, even the natural pictures taken show that it is meant to be looking that way, meant to be looking dangerous, but it need not be. And I want him to be a happy snake. The thing that we are going to do now is to create this nice, beautiful impression of this amazing animal that is super quiet in its move, Yes, I know it is super dangerous. Some of you may be, fearing that, but it is super dangerous only to those that want to disturb him, mostly. Yeah. Otherwise, no, he doesn't bother. So I've just given him that nice little mouth without the tongue out. That's what I have tried to do here. The eye in the mouth, and then I bring it back here. There is this nice space here. Mhm. So what I did was the yellow ochre that we had mixed with white a little bit, and we did the darker burnt umber stuff a little bit. So I used those colors to effectively to create the 3.5, 3.5 here. So it's three circles and half. Hmm. Good. I'm going to take a little bit of titanium white to highlight in some of the places. Exactly. We never forget that. We want to highlight where it's catching the light. Animal is catching the light. He is happily enjoying the sunlight equally as Shiva and Shakti are doing so. So let's do that. And there is this middle portion of the snake's body that I want to cover here, very ever so lightly bringing it down. I'm just using titanium white and blending it in directly. Yeah, so I didn't bother mixing anything on the uh, on the palette. So I'm just using the darker version because this is going to be slightly darker around his neck, very close to his neck. I might have smudged it a little bit. I'm going to clean it up. Merging it a little bit accidentally. So I have cleaned it up now and I'm ready to go ahead with the shading here. Yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think he looks good for now. Yeah. Let's do quick check on where we are. Yes. We're doing good. Um, let's see. With the time, it looks fair enough that we could also jump in a little bit into the um, jewellery aspect of Shakti. Hmm? To this yellow ochre, so I'm still not changing the brush. To this yellow ochre, I want to add a slight bit of cadmium orange. I think we did that even in the previous, layer. We did that. Not too much. This time, I want really less of it. Not too much. So I'm trying to use the same um, yellow ochre that we have mixed for the fur of. Now the question is, hmm, I'm starting on the section of Shiva. So where is his earring? It is behind the snake. That's a good question, isn't it? So just behind the snake. Yeah. Fill it in, filling in this section as well. And I will use the darker version. Yes. That's going to be yellow ochre built with burnt umber or ivory black. So anything will do here. I'm going to bring the focus to the crown first. Let's fill in real quick. On the jewelry again. Ah, the green is still vibrant, showing up here. All right, so I've adjusted here and quickly going over. So I'm not using any other color. I'm just using the single color. To fill in the sections of both. Remember, you want to fill the sections of jewelry and also the clothing, the end of the clothing, which has, that tad bit of gold or silk in it. And remember, the blue is, if just like in my case, if you also have the same challenge that this green is blending in with the yellow ochre, turning it slightly blue, use the tissues to wipe off. I'm just going on with the flow. It works for now. It's not troubling me too much, so I'm fine with it. Okay, so I'm going to move further down here. On the belt in her hip. So we did that. Oh, somewhere I feel the angle is missing. I'm going to take a little bit of this green to fix this angle here. I have the green left over, so I'm able to adjust it here. Okay, so let's continue on her jewelry part. I'm just filling in one color right now to speed up the process, but we will come back again. So I'm going to move this slightly up. The focus is on her clothing, especially on the section where there is this, border of the clothing. So we finished her hand, everything. Yeah. So since we did that, I'm going to use the same color tonality for the Damaru. That's right here. And the trident. Wow, yes. The part of the trident is, it's a mixture of light and dark. We will work on that. So we are working on the top of the trident, which is possibly a gold. We will bring it down ever so lightly. Onto the body of the, the stick-like thing, ever so lightly. Because we still want that darker brown also. We don't want it to go away in the body of it. I wouldn't want to work too much into that because when we work on the animal and few other things, it will change again, or we will have to readjust a little bit. So I'm not going to do too much of that here, but just going along the line. And I've not switched brushes. Hmm. Looks fair enough. That's manageable. Right now, we have managed this. So, right now, we are ready to start working on a little bit more into the details of a jewelry. How is that jewelry built? Hmm? So, when you start working on jewelry, there is also a bit of gold getting mixed, and I have used various methods to show how the gold is getting mixed and so on. So this is another pattern that I wanted to show you. Um, so the way we would do it is also to load totally gold in the layer 4 and wait until the layer 5 and so on, or design in layer 4 and keep working around the design. So there are many ways to work on the gold color. But before we get started into it, I want to just, show you what it is so that we can work in detail about that in the next session. Yeah. So, so this is the light gold that I'm going to use. And if you see the way it is, the reason why I asked you to fill in yellow ochre is that it almost resembles yellow ochre in many ways. The only difference is that it has a bit of shine. So I am going to load this or use this to color. So I'm using the same brush to color one more layer on top of this with the gold. This is one style that you're going to see. So I'm going to color one more layer of the gold, and in the next session, possibly we will see a little more into what we could do and how different we could do with it. Yeah. So I am using, and it doesn't for you, for your own eye, it will look like there is really no change happening at all. Um, and that's the whole purpose of this, because if you do not have an option to buy this gold color, you could actually settle in with the yellow ochre itself, yeah, and try creating impressions and images of golden jewelry. Yeah, that's also possible. So I'm just repeating in all those areas, filling those areas with the gold, and we will work on the details of gold jewelry in the next session. Yeah. So and in the next session, you will get to see some more styles of how this color can be, used. The gold color can be used as well. One other thing that I wanted to talk about in this gold color is that um, it takes a lot of time to dry. So just be aware of that. And there are gold powders. So this is a tube, just like any other color that you saw. There are also powders of gold available that you could use. I'm going to make a stop with this gold filling right now so that we can continue on this gold journey in the next session with the jewelries. So I'm going to make a hard stop here. And let's quickly go over what all we have learned or done together in this session today. So today's session was um, really into the remaining part of the clothing that we had missed to complete in our previous session. So that's what we had done. As a recap, yeah, we did the missing, clothing part, whatever we couldn't complete in the last session. So that was um, Shakti's clothing here, and also the fur, that tiger skin that Shiva is wearing. And then we also worked a little bit on this beautiful animal, the snake. Um, then we came down to starting with the jewelry. Yeah. So that's what we have done in today's session. What we would do in the next session is that we will start with one more animal and then come back to the jewelry. So we are in a way, paralleling the work, and trying to see if we can cover a little more space while we are working on accessories. Yeah, to compensate for the timing and use the timing effectively every 1 hour effectively. Today, like the way we finished a little bit, on the beautiful snake, we could also do one more animal in the next session. That's the plan. Okay. I hope you have enjoyed today's session and have also managed to do as much or even better. um, and yeah, I would like always mention this, that if you have any comments, feedback, queries, do shoot it to support at delaystudio.dk, and do remember that your pictures will be very helpful when you have a question on, my painting is totally way off from what you are doing. I am totally worried. Such comments, I would really prefer that you are sharing the pictures so that I'm also able to analyze a little bit, and maybe we can have a call, Zoom call, one-on-one call, or such, to go over that detail and see if I could help a little better. And that's exactly the point of this. You are learning one of the complex artwork here. So it's so good that you have reached this far, and if you need help, you must ask for it, and I will be glad to help you. Thank you very much. Enjoy the day, enjoy the afternoon, evening, wherever you are. Stay blessed, stay connected. See you in the next class. Bye bye.